Are you mature for your age, or were you just easy to manipulate? It's a question that makes most people flinch. Society loves a precocious child. We celebrate the old soul. We applaud the teenager who carries themselves like an executive. But these aren't just compliments. These are masks. They are scripts written by a world that finds childhood inconvenient and finds trauma profitable. Today, we are dissecting the most talked about fiction debut of 2026, Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. If you thought her memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, was a gut punch, this novel is the aftermath. It's a taboo-shattering, uncomfortable, and darkly hilarious look at the obsession with age gaps, power, and the performance of being grown up. This isn't just a book review. This is a reality check on why we fetishize the loss of innocence. First, let's talk about the protagonist. A 17-year-old girl who doesn't just have a crush on her teacher, she has an obsession. But it's not the kind of obsession you see in a Hallmark movie. It's calculated. It's desperate. It's a heist. She isn't looking for love. She's looking for a shortcut to the finish line of adulthood. Society has a label for this girl: the temptress or the victim. We love to put people in those two boxes because it makes the world feel safe. If she's the temptress, we can blame her. If she's the victim, we can pity her. But McCurdy refuses to let us be comfortable. In Half His Age, the protagonist is neither and both. She is a product of a culture that taught her that her only value is her proximity to power. Think about it. Why do we praise 17-year-olds for acting 30? Because it's convenient. A mature child doesn't need as much parenting. A mature teenager doesn't make as many annoying mistakes. We call it independent, but McCurdy calls the bluff. It's not independence. It's a survival mechanism. When a girl is half his age, society looks at the man with suspicion and the girl with judgment. But Half His Age forces us to look at the math of it. Why is the age gap the only thing we talk about? Why don't we talk about the power gap, the experience gap, the emotional debt gap? In the book, the teacher isn't just a person. He's a mirror. He represents a world that the protagonist hasn't earned yet, but desperately wants to own. She thinks that by being with him, she can absorb his authority. She thinks she can skip the awkward years and jump straight to the part of life where people listen when you talk. But here's the taboo McCurdy nails. The old soul is a myth. No one is born with an old soul. You develop an old soul because you were forced to handle things a young soul wasn't ready for. By romanticizing the mature teen, society is essentially romanticizing the neglect that made them that way. Now, let's flip the coin. Let's talk about the world's reaction to Jennette McCurdy herself writing this. Why did this book become the most searched title of 2026? Because we are obsessed with watching survivors process their pain. We watched her as a child star. Then we read her memoir about her mother, and now we are watching her navigate fiction. There is a meta layer here that Google searches can't explain. People are searching for Half His Age because they want to know where the fiction ends and where Jennette begins. They want to see the scars, but McCurdy is smarter than them. She uses fiction as a shield and a weapon. She's not giving you her diary. She's giving you a mirror of your own voyeurism. Are you reading this book because you care about the characters, or because you're addicted to the train wreck of a taboo relationship? Society secretly loves the taboo. We pretend to be outraged by age gap relationships, but we make them the top trending topics on social media every single day. We click, we comment, we judge, and in doing so, we feed the beast. McCurdy challenges this cycle. She asks, if the world is going to watch me anyway, what script am I going to give them? The protagonist in Half His Age is constantly performing. She's performing adult for her teacher. She's performing innocent for her peers. And she's performing fine for herself. Does that sound familiar? In 2026, everyone is performing. We are all brands. We are all curated. The 17-year-old girl on TikTok pretending to be a lifestyle guru is no different from the protagonist of this book. They are both trying to bypass the struggle of being young and not enough. The uncomfortable truth is that society hates teenagers. We hate their hormones, their uncertainty, their loud music, and their search for identity. So we offer them a deal. If you act like us, we'll respect you. But the moment they take the deal, we punish them for it. In Half His Age, the protagonist takes the deal. She trades her youth for the attention of a man who doesn't see her as a person, but as a project. And here's the kicker. She knows it. She isn't being tricked in the traditional sense. She's a willing participant in a transaction where her only currency is her age, and his only product is his approval. But let's look closer at that approval. Why is it so addictive? Because society has taught this girl, and millions of others, that being special is the only way to be safe. If she's just another 17-year-old, she's invisible. She's just another girl in a crowded hallway. But if she's the 17-year-old who understands a 35-year-old man, she's elite. She's transcended, or so she thinks. McCurdy brilliantly dismantles the Lolita trope by stripping away the poetic prose and replacing it with the cold, hard reality of emotional labor. The protagonist spends her time studying the teacher's interests, mimicking his vocabulary, and anticipating his moods. She isn't growing up. She's working a full-time job without a paycheck. This brings us to a massive societal taboo, the myth of the empowered minor. We love to tell stories about young people who are ahead of their time, but we rarely talk about the cost of that acceleration. When you skip the steps of development, you don't actually become an adult, you just become a child in a very convincing suit. You become an expert at the performance of adulthood while your actual emotional core remains hollowed out. And what about the man? Let's talk about the distinguished teacher. In the eyes of the world, he's a mentor. He's troubled or misunderstood. But through McCurdy's lens, he's something far more pathetic. He is a man who can only feel like a giant by standing next to someone small. He doesn't want an equal. He wants an audience. He wants someone who hasn't seen enough of the world to realize that his wisdom is actually just a collection of cliches and unearned confidence. The search volume for this book in 2026 isn't just because of the scandal. It's because we are living in the era of the accelerated life. We see it everywhere, from the 10-year-olds with complex skincare routines to the college students who feel like failures if they aren't founders by age 20. We have collectively decided that youth is a waste of time. We treat childhood like a waiting room for real life. McCurdy's book is a 300-page scream against that mindset. She uses fiction to say what we are too afraid to say in our Instagram caption, that being mature for your age is often just a synonym for surviving your environment. Think about the meta-narrative. Jennette McCurdy herself was a child star. She was the girl the world laughed with, the girl who was professional and easy to work with, while her personal life was a disaster. She was the ultimate mature child. By writing Half His Age, she is reclaiming the narrative of the girl who was told she was too smart for her own good. When you search for this book, you aren't just looking for a story. You're looking for permission. Permission to admit that you were overwhelmed when you were supposed to be independent. Permission to admit that the older people you looked up to were actually just people who took advantage of your lack of context. Let's dive into the voyeurism of the reader. Why are we so obsessed with these stories? There's a dark comfort in watching someone else navigate a power imbalance. It allows us to play moral judge. We can look at the teacher and say, I would never do that. Or look at the girl and say, I would never be that naive. But the truth is, we are all the girl. We have all traded a piece of our authentic selves for the attention of a system that promised to make us feel special. Whether it's a job that demands 80 hours a week in exchange for a fancy title, or a social circle that demands a specific aesthetic in exchange for belonging, we are all doing the math of half his age. We are all trading our present moment for a future that doesn't exist. The book's most uncomfortable scenes aren't the ones involving physical intimacy. They are the scenes where the protagonist realizes she has nothing to talk about with her own peers. She looks at other 17-year-olds and feels a mixture of pity and envy. They are loud, silly, and immature. She thinks she is better than them, but as the story progresses, she realizes she is just lonelier. This is the maturity trap in action. By the time she realizes that her specialness is just a form of isolation, she doesn't know how to go back. She has burned the bridge to her own childhood to keep a man warm who doesn't even love her. So, why does this matter in 2026? Because we are reaching a breaking point. The digital world has made it impossible to be young. Your mistakes are permanent. Your identity is a brand. Your value is a metric. In this environment, Half His Age acts as a cautionary tale for the TikTok generation. It's a warning that when you try to hack the timeline of your life, the timeline hacks you back. The ending of the book, which I won't spoil but I will analyze, is a masterclass in subverting expectations. People searching for Half His Age ending explained are usually looking for a happily ever after or a tragic justice. But McCurdy gives us something much more haunting. She gives us nothing. She shows us that when the relationship ends, the protagonist isn't transformed. She's just tired. She's 18 going on 50. The victory isn't that she escaped. The tragedy is that she doesn't know who she is without the gaze of the person she was trying to impress. This is the reality check society needs. We love a survivor story because it suggests that the trauma was worth it, that it made the person stronger or wiser. But Half His Age argues that some things don't make you stronger. Some things just take from you. They take your time, they take your confidence, and they take your ability to trust your own instinct. If you're watching this, ask yourself, what deals have you made? What parts of your own messy, uncertain, immature self have you traded away for the sake of looking like you have it all together? We live in a world that hates not knowing. We want the answers, we want the success, and we want it now. We want to be smart rich without the struggle of being smart broke. We want the authority of age without the wrinkles of experience. But Half His Age reminds us that there is a sanctity in being clueless. There is a necessity in being immature. If you don't allow yourself to be a mess when you're young, You'll be a mess when you're older, and the stakes will be much, much higher. Jennette McCurdy has done something revolutionary here. She hasn't just written a taboo book. She has written a critique of how we consume the taboo. She's pointed the finger back at us, the searchers, the scrollers, the judgers, and asked, "Why are you so interested in my pain?" The McCurdy effect isn't about her fame, it's about her honesty. In a world of curated fictions, she is writing the truth about how fiction is used to control us. She's showing us that the old soul isn't a badge of honor, it's a scar. So don't just read Half His Age to see the scandal. Read it to see yourself. Read it to see the ways you've been told that your worth is tied to how much you can act like someone you're not. Ditch the label. Stop trying to be mature. Stop trying to be the precocious version of yourself. The world has enough old souls who are exhausted and empty. What the world needs are people who are brave enough to be exactly as young, as old, as smart, or as dumb as they actually are. Recognize the power in your own timeline. You are not a fraction. You are not half of anything. You are a whole person, and your time is yours and yours alone. Don't trade it for a shortcut that only leads to a dead end. After all, the most mature thing you can ever do is admit that you're still growing. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the taboos of Half His Age, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. We're going to keep dissecting the books that society is searching for, but no one is talking about honestly. What do you think? Is mature for your age a compliment or a red flag? Let's get uncomfortable in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Stop playing by their rules. Start writing your own.